mediocre chef. Is that okay? So it's a phrase that means the same thing as what is placed closer to another noun or a pronoun or a noun phrase that means the same thing as that thing. If I, for instance, I'm a teacher and I say Oladele, I put a comma, the English teacher, I put another comma. Who is Oladele? The English teacher, right? Who is the English teacher? Oladele. Very good. So the appositive phrase means the same thing as the subject, okay, or as the noun that you have closer to it. So my uncle is the same as what? A mediocre chef, okay? So in this case, the grammatical name is what? Appositive phrase, or a phrase in apposition. Then if they ask you for the function, you say it functions as the apposition to the noun uncle. It functions as the what? Apposition to the noun uncle. Or it tells us more about the noun uncle. That is the function. Okay. So my uncle, a medical chef, is no Julia Childs. Since he often drops his cigar ashes into the food he is preparing. Okay, so in this case, you have an appositive phrase. Let's look at another example. You see, a mediocre chef is pointing towards my uncle. They are the same. This is another example. My favorite pastime. What is my favorite pastime here?
Cow tipping.
Very good. So now if I should ask, what is cow tipping? You simply tell me my favorite what?
My favorite
pastime.
Good. So in this case, the cow tipping is referring back to what? My favorite pastime. Now, the implication is this. You can omit any of this. You can use any of this and omit the other, and the sentence will still stand. For instance, you can say, my favorite pastime often results in dirty what? Shoes. And you can leave my favorite pastime and say, cow tipping often results in what? Dirty shoes. And most times you have a positive phrase in split commas. You have two commas to separate the appositive phrase from the main subject or from the noun. Is that okay? You always find it either before the verb in the subject position, or you find it in the object position. Most of that tells, this refers back towards the noun that it is telling us about. So that was why I said it is a very tricky one. You just have to understand the fact that when we say something is in a position, it means it is standing side by side by what it is telling us about. And if you remove it, what it is telling us about can still stand. Here, my uncle is no Julia Childs, okay? Can stand without a mediocre chef. A mediocre chef is simply describing my uncle. And here, cow tipping is telling us more about the what? My favorite pastime. All right, let's move on. Okay, do you understand the concept of appositive phrase?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me use an example. What's your name, please?
Antonia.
Okay, Antonia. Okay, Antonia, are you a student?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if I should say, Antonia, my students, okay, my student on Zoom is always present. Okay. What is the appositive phrase in that sentence?
Antonia.
No, Antonia is the noun. What comes after Antonia that tells you more about Antonia will be the appositive phrase. Don't forget, a phrase is a group of words, cannot be one word. So let's take it again. Antonia, my student on Zoom, is always present. So what is the appositive phrase there?
My students on Zoom.
Bravo, that is it. Okay, yes, my student on Zoom is the appositive phrase, okay, that is referring back to what? Antonia. So if I should remove Antonia and I say, my student on Zoom is always present. So then you ask me, who is your student on Zoom? And I say what? Antonia. Or I say, Antonia is always present. And then I am asked, who is Antonia? And I say what? My students on Zoom. Another very tricky kind of phrase, verbal phrase. Okay, you may ask me, now why is it that we have a verbal phrase when we say the phrase should not contain what? A finite verb, right? But let's not forget that a phrase is what? A group of words, right? A group that screen.
Verbal phrases are verb forms that function as nouns, adjectives, or adverbs. Proper use of verbal phrases can add variety to your writing style. There are three types of verbal phrases: participles,
Gerunds,
periods, and
sentence. What is the first thing you are expected to have in the sentence? The subject, right?
Yes, sir.
So after the subject, you have the verb. Okay. For instance, if I say Dele teaches, teaches there is the verb, right? Dele
Yes, sir.
teaches.
Yes.
Very. Now in the verb position, whenever you have more than one verb in the verb position, it is what? A verb phrase or a verbal phrase. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Whenever you have more than one verb in the verb position, it is what? A verbal phrase. So if I should say, for instance, this example. This is taking us too far. I'm touching on verbal phrase. Okay, let me give you an example. So what would be the verb there? Yeah, I can hear you.
Less than 10 minutes more.
Yes, I'll wrap up very soon. So if I should say Dele is coming home tomorrow, what would be the verb there?
coming.
Okay. Now, coming is the main verb, but you also have is. That is also a verb, right?
Yes, sir.
So in that case, you have an helping verb. Okay, so is coming just a verb, but it's what? A verb phrase. So if I have what time? Okay, and then what will happen is that those three verbs can no longer be verb because they are more than one. They become what? Verbal phrase. Is that
Yes,
okay?
sir.
So the important thing is that a verbal phrase is a phrase that has more than one verb. Because of our time, I won't be able to explain the concept of gerund and infinitives. But infinitives very quickly is a verb that has to too. Okay, before it, to eat, to drink, to sweep. So any verb that has to before it is an what? Is an infinitive verb. Is that okay?
Yes.
And gerunds basically are verbs that act like nouns. Okay, they are ing verbs, verbs that end in ing. Going to school is beautiful. So going there is a verb. So we call it a verbal noun that acts as a noun in a sentence. Going is beautiful. Eating is my leisure. Okay. So when you see an ing verb in the subject position and they ask you what it is acting as a verbal noun. It's representing a noun in that expression. I want us to take a quick test. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so you try this. Look at this expression. Drinking cold lemonade refreshed me. What is the phrase there? Can anybody try very quickly? Drinking cold lemonade refreshed me.
Drinking cold lemonade.
Very good. Yes, that's the answer. Bravo. So drinking cold lemonade there is what? Is the phrase. Now, what kind of phrase is this? Can anyone tell me? Okay, I didn't touch on it. It's a participle phrase. Okay, it's a participle phrase. So let's move to the next one. The computer needs to be repaired. What is the phrase there?
Computer.
Repaired.
Well, computer is just a word. Don't forget, a phrase is a group of words. Can be 2 or more words.
Needs to be repaired.
You said, well, you cannot take needs because needs here is a verb. So basically, there are 2 phrases here, the computer and to be repaired. Okay, but here, in terms of infinitive phrase, I told you that an infinitive begins with what? To, right? To be repaired. Okay, that's an infinitive phrase. All right, but the computer here is also a phrase, which is a noun phrase. Is that okay?
Yes.
Let's move on to the next one. You will find the assignment on the board. What is the prepositional phrase there?
The assignment on the board.
See, okay, yes, that is a phrase actually. The assignment on the board put together will be a noun phrase. Okay, functioning as the object of the verb find. Okay, but then you have a prepositional phrase within that phrase, on the board, right? On the board is a prepositional phrase. The assignment is a noun phrase. The assignment on the board is a noun phrase. But the phrase here that is prepositional phrase is on the board. Okay. Let's look at this last. Having blocked a punt, the Rams recovered the ball. What is there? Okay, you have a participle phrase. They haven't blocked the punts. Okay. Because of our time, we have to wrap up now. If you need this material, I will send it to the coordinator. Is that okay? I'll send this material to the coordinator to send to you and attach an assignment for you to please to it. So do we have questions, please? Any question?
No.
Lillian's hand is up. Antonia's hand is up.
Antonia, please ask your question.
Okay. So, like while writing exam,
okay,
how do you identify the grammatical name and the function?
Okay, very good. You see, what they would do in an exam is to underline a particular expression, just like this. Is that okay? The expression
Yes,
will be
sir.
underlined like this, right? And then they will ask you
Yes,
for
sir.
the function. Now, whatever is underlined would determine the function. So in this case, for instance, you have drinking cold lemonade, right? In the subject position.
Yes, sir.
Is that not so? So when they ask you
Yes, sir.
for the grammatical name, if you don't know the particular thing it is, all you need to do is say whether it is a phrase or a clause. Is that okay? If you don't know the kind of phrase
Yes,
it is,
sir.
say it is a phrase. But if you know the kind of phrase it is, for instance, in this case, you have what? You have a participle phrase. So I can say it's what? A participle phrase. Okay. Now, they will now ask you, what is the function? Now, this is how you identify the function. Whatever is in the subject position, okay, coming before a verb, we say it functions as the what? Subject of the verb. You now name the verb, refreshed. So in this case, drinking lemon, cold lemonade is what? A phrase. That's the grammatical name. The function is what? Subject of the what? Verb refreshed. Okay, that is the function. Is that okay? So we will take more of this next week.
Yes, sir.
Our time is up. Is that okay? So you pile up your questions. I will
Yes,
answer them
sir.
next week. But I'll send this material to the coordinator. So thank you very much. Have a lovely week.
Thank you, sir. And
Thank you.
All right, thank you to Jason Charity Support Foundation for putting all this together. We'll meet again next week. Thank you. I appreciate you all.
Better.